If you notice, most of these symptoms are related to the period itself. And in order to understand why we experience these period changes, I need to remind you about the role of estrogen and progesterone in your body. Think about estrogen like the fertilizer that keeps the lining of the uterus really thick and plump and fluffy. And think about progesterone like the lawnmower that comes through and keeps the lining of the uterus in check. Estrogen is actually really easy for your body to make. It spikes right before you ovulate, and then you make it again after you ovulate. Progesterone is mainly made only when you ovulate, and ovulating is actually really hard for your body to do. So if you think back in puberty, maybe you don't remember this, estrogen starts first. You start getting flushed with estrogen in your system, which means the lining of the uterus is really thick, but it takes a while for your body to figure out the ovulation part of it. So you're not releasing the progesterone or the lawnmower. So for the first 2 years, your period can actually be really heavy. And this is important for those of you that have young daughters now that might be menstruating and might forget that this is actually a normal phase and your body is learning a new language. And we can be tempted to do things to help with that and control those heavy periods. And while there is sometimes an indication for birth control blocks ovulation. And ovulation is your body's only time to produce that progesterone. So if we interfere too soon with this process, we stop that language learning. Now, that doesn't mean that you can't learn that language when you get off birth control when you're 20, but think about ourselves learning a new language. It's a lot easier to do that when we're 10 than now. So just something to keep in mind. Now, perimenopause is the reverse of puberty. So what happens in those 2 to 10 years leading up to your final menstrual period is your ovaries will hang a going out of business sign in the window, and they will go into a semi-retired state where they're producing less ripe eggs and you're not ovulating all of the time. So again, we have a situation where you have a lot of estrogen and not as much progesterone keeping that growth in check. So our periods can once again be much heavier as we transition into the next phase of life.